Hi guys, my name is Christine and I'm a dating, relationship and personal development coach, and today I'm talking about what your ex needs to know to come back, okay? So if you are hoping that your ex is going to come back into your life, which I know a lot of people who come across my channel are hoping for that, then these are some things that they will need to come to within themselves in order to be reattracted to you, in order to reach out to you, to extend that olive branch to you, right? So these are the things that they need to be feeling and knowing within themselves in order for them to come back, okay? So the first thing that will help is if they know that you've let go. If they know, or they've seen by your actions or your inaction that you've let go. And what I mean by that is, so if you've stopped messaging them, maybe you've gone into no contact, and you're focusing on different things now. You're no longer focusing on them. You're no longer focusing on bringing the relationship back. They know basically that you have let go because you're no longer messaging them and doing things like that. You're no longer trying to fix things, okay? And the reason why that works is because they can only miss you if you're absent. If you're still in their DMs, if you're still calling them up, if you're still messaging them, they can't miss you. And they will know that you haven't let go yet, right? So they need to know that you've let go. They need to know that you are moving on with your life, okay? Because that will allow their emotions to stir and for them to start missing you. If, obviously, they still have feelings for you. They won't come back if they don't have feelings for you at all, okay? There's nothing you can do. If your ex really has lost all feelings for you, if they don't love you anymore, they're no longer attracted to you, there's no amount of these videos, no amount of any video can help you, right? They're gone, right? If they feel that way and they don't love you, there is not a lot you can do to change that situation. You can't change their mind if their mind has already been made up. But if they do love you, if they do care about you, they will have to start missing you, and they'll have to feel like you're moving on in order to reach out, okay? They'll need to feel like they're losing you, essentially, right? And if they love you, then they don't want to lose you, okay? So you just focus on your own thing, do your own thing for a while, focus on, maybe exercising or working on your business, if you've got a business, or working, focusing on your actual work if you've got a 9-to-5, right? Focus on your friends, focus on your family, focus on different things for a while, and stop focusing on them, put your attention completely off of them, and if they love you and they still care about you, they'll start to miss you and they will come back. So another thing that your ex needs to know to come back is that you have changed for the better, right? And that things have changed for the better. So it might not necessarily be you, because perhaps you're already a great person, and perhaps they may even already start to feel like they've lost someone good. But the reason why they left, especially if you were the one that got dumped and they dumped you, like if they dumped you for a reason. So they need to know, or at least feel like things could have changed. Because if they feel like they're coming back to the same relationship with the same circumstances, and those were the same circumstances that made them leave, if they're still there and they feel like those circumstances are still there, they're not probably going to come back, right? Now, the reason why I say probably is because sometimes exes can come back and not really look at those circumstances, because they just have like nostalgia towards you, or they just really, really miss you. So this is more like a secondary thing. But in reality, if they feel like, and they've been thinking about getting back with you, they may be pondering if things have changed. Right? And if things haven't changed and they feel like things haven't changed, then they're probably not going to come back. Or it might not be that things have changed with you or of your circumstances, but it might be if things have changed for them for the better, and they feel like they can now come back to you now that their situation has kind of resolved itself, right? So that's another thing. It doesn't have to be because of you. It could be because of them, right, that they come back. They might be like, okay, I'm in a better place now. I'm in a better frame of mind. Maybe they've changed jobs or something like that, and they just feel like that things have changed, and if they come back to you, the relationship and the circumstances will have changed for the better, right? So that's another thing that they will need to know, right, in order to come back. They'll need to know that when they come back, things will be different, and they're in a good way, okay? If you're interested in more information on how to get your ex back, then I highly recommend that you go and watch this video that I made It's an audio on how to get your ex back. And basically, if you have already watched that, then please go and watch it again, because it was really, really helpful for you to, repeat things and to watch things over and over again, because what really helps with that is that it helps you retain the information, it helps you remember it, right? It helps you keep it ingrained into your brain, okay? So those are the fundamentals basically on how to get your ex back. So if you are trying to get your ex back, then I highly recommend that you go to and watch that, or watch it again if you haven't, if you've already watched it before in the past. Okay, so another thing that your ex needs to know in order to come back is that they need to know that they still love you. They need to still feel in their heart that love for you. They still need to feel that attraction for you. Okay, they need to feel like they miss you, right? They need to still have that emotional bond to you. Now, there's not a lot you can do about that, because you can't control, puppeteer basically how they feel about you. Only they can really feel that. Only they can love you. Only they can feel those things. Okay, so they need to know that they still love you. Okay, but what you need to remember is that they can only come to this conclusion and start feeling that and start thinking about that if you've given them space and time away from you, if you've been applying the no contact rule, right? They can't miss you, they can't think about how much they like you, or how much they love you, and how much they're still attracted to you, if you're constantly trying to rectify things, if you're constantly in their DMs and ringing them up and things like that. You have to apply the no contact rule and give them that space to think about you, to miss you, so they can sit with their feelings and discover basically if they still love you or not. Okay, and if they love you, then they will come back, they will reach out to you. Now, when I say that kind of thing, some people ask me, like, oh yeah, but my ex would never do that. My ex is stubborn. My ex would never admit to still loving me and coming back into my life and trying to reach out and trying to resolve things. Okay? So if that's the case and you've got a stubborn ex, then it's best to just let that person go, to just let that ex go. And the reason why you have to let a stubborn ex go is because this kind of thing will just keep on repeating itself. If they can't own up to how they feel, if they can't own up to their own emotions, if they can't drop their ego, right, like that, and be honest with themselves and with you, then you don't want them in your life, because there are going to be times then where in your life with them, if you continue to be with them, or if they come back into your life and you start, being together again, there are going to be times where something's gone wrong and they're going to be really stubborn and act really maybe even passive aggressive towards you, and you're going to have to be the one that's always clearing up the mess. You're the one that's always going to be having to apologize even when it's not your fault, because you're dealing with someone who is stubborn. So it's a good idea if this person was stubborn and you're saying to yourself, yeah, my ex would never come back even if they loved me, because they're stubborn, then that's a good thing and you've dodged a bullet, and let them be in the past so you can find someone better who isn't stubborn. Okay? So the last thing that your ex needs to know to come back is that they need to know they are ready to work things out with you. Okay, so they need to know that, when he or she gets back with you, that there are going to be some things that you're going to need to discuss, and they need to know that they're ready to do that, right? Because they might not be. They might not be ready to work things out. They might not be emotionally ready, which again is why you apply the no contact rule, because that gives them the space and time to think about that and to come to these conclusions. Okay, so they need to feel like they're ready, like they're really ready to sit down with you, to try and resolve things, to try and work things out. Because at this current time, perhaps they do still love you, but they feel like, oh yeah, coming back would feel like such hard work. It would just be so much work that we need to do. And they might not just be at that point yet, that they're at that stage where they feel like they're ready to work things out, because maybe they know it's going to take a lot of work and maybe they're avoiding it, right? But the more time you give them, the more they can sit with their feelings and think about you. They will get to that place where they start to feel more steady and ready to work things out with you. Because sometimes people just avoid things that are difficult. Some people avoid things that are hard. Right? And you can see why, because if you feel like you're about to do something really difficult, you're probably going to feel like you want to avoid it, right? So that could be one of the reasons why your ex may be avoiding you, may not want to talk to you, because perhaps they're just not ready mentally to just, grit their teeth and start working this thing out, right? So that's another thing as well. So they need to come to that place. They need to know that they're ready to work things out, because if they're not ready, they're just simply not going to do it, right? If they don't feel ready, if they feel pushed, if they feel rushed, they're not going to do it. Okay, so these are the things that I've personally come across that your ex needs to know in order to come back. So in addition to this, I've got a few warnings for you. You've got to always make sure that when you get back with your ex, or you're trying to get back with your ex, you're getting back with them for the right reasons, okay? And you genuinely feel like you lost someone good, right? Because a lot of people just get back with their ex because it's familiar, right? Just because they know where their ex's bathroom is, right? And they know how to, it just feels like comfort to them, right? It's like going back to an old house that you lived in as your child, or going back to your parents' house, right? It just feels comforting to be there, right? Because it's familiar. And some people get back with their ex just because of that. And I know that because I've done that in the past myself. Like, it feels good to be with someone who already knows you well, who already knows what food you like, already knows how to comfort you and things like that. It feels good to go to that, right? So you've got to make sure that you're getting back with your ex for the right reasons. And also, rejection breeds obsession. So if you got dumped, then the whole reason why you might actually want to get back with your ex isn't because you want to get back with your ex, but just because they rejected you. And rejection breeds obsession. So what I tend to tell people is that you got to make sure, that you're getting back with them for the right reasons. Because sometimes people break up because neither person is putting their best foot forward anymore. You're not trying to impress them anymore. You're not really dating them anymore. You kind of can't be bothered. In a way, you've kind of fallen out of love with them. You've become more like roommates rather than lovers, right? And when that happens, that's because both people have probably fell out of love a little bit, maybe even all the way, right? And they're just hanging around each other, right? And if your ex dumped you, they might have dumped you for the right reasons. They might have dumped you because they know that you two are just no longer gelling, right? And you got to realize, you got to think back on that time then with your ex and think, okay, well, why wasn't I putting my best foot forward? Why was I no longer trying to date her or him? Why was I no longer trying to make them feel loved and make them feel special? Why was I no longer doing that, right? Why was I no longer trying with them? Right? And the reason you'll usually come to is because you fell out of love with them, and you may have even felt like you wanted to end it yourself. Maybe you was thinking in that relationship, oh yeah, I kind of wish I'd gone back. I kind of wish I could go back to my old life. I kind of wish I could go back to the time when I was single. I kind of wish I could go back to that time when I was not in a relationship with that person. Right? And basically your ex may have sensed this, and maybe that was the reason why they broke up with you, because they could tell that you had already mentally and emotionally checked out. Okay? So therefore, the breakup happened for a reason, and the only reason you want them back is because rejection bred obsession, and the reason why you got dumped, and the reason why you still you're kind of craving to get them back is because of that pure fact that rejection bred obsession. And you don't actually want to get back with them, but it's more like you're trying to prove a point to yourself and to other people, or you're trying to convince your ex that they made the wrong choice, basically. Because that's kind of like some kind of emotions that can bubble up when you've been rejected by someone or when you've been dumped by someone. Because even if you were happy or thinking about that you didn't really want to be with them anymore, and you no longer had those feelings for them anymore, when they dumped you, it kind of switched that around, because that's what happens when someone gets rejected. That's what happens when someone gets dumped. The dumpee rather, and the person that got rejected suddenly starts to really fantasize about that person who dumped them, because that's simply what happens when people get rejected. And it might not be that you want to actually get back with them, right? Not really, especially if you think back on that relationship and think, oh yeah, I wasn't putting my best foot forward. I kind of was wishing I could go back to my old life. I wish I could have been single again, or I really wish I could have actually, when that new person came into work, I kind of really wanted to date them actually instead. I no longer wanted to be with my partner. I didn't want to put my best foot forward anymore. So these are just things, anyway, that you might want to consider, because sometimes your ex really is an ex for a reason. And I know that's a bit of a cliche saying, but the reason why it's a cliche is because it's true, okay? So that's just something else to consider as well. So I hope you found this video helpful. If you'd like to get in touch with me personally and you'd like coaching with me, then please go to www.christineloveridge.com, and I shall talk to you again very soon. Goodbye.